It is a great day for America, and what we saw take place at about 7:10 a.m. this morning was the culmination of many months of grueling work to put the American agenda back on the plate and turn this country around. It's an exciting day.
Well, when we consider what actually happened today, everything embedded in this legislation, Congressman, obviously the House was having to work under different parameters than the Senate will. You know this, having a seat on the Budget Committee. The Senate has more wiggle room to extend tax cuts perhaps even further as they use the current policy baseline. Are you expecting that the end result of this bill, once it's gone through both chambers, is going to be a bigger price tag than what you and your colleagues just passed?
I believe that we're at a point right now where Americans are demanding more fiscal responsibility, and I think we're going to see that out of the Senate's product. I know that Americans are desperate to not see taxes go up. I think we're going to see that come out of the Senate product. I know that Americans are demanding stricter border control. We're going to see that come out of the Senate product. I believe that the bill that we see back out of the Senate is going to very closely mirror what we will send them later today.
Your colleague from Kentucky, Tom Massey, who was, of course, a no and had been through the duration, said this bill is a debt bomb ticking. Congress can do funny math if it wants, but bond investors don't. Congressman, is he wrong about the money that's being added to the debt and deficit?
Well, there's no question. We have curbed our thirst for spending by about $1.5 trillion. There's plenty more work to do, but I think that we have to take a moment and celebrate what we were able to accomplish at this momentous time. And we'll come back to work, and once we begin to see the results of this bill and the economy grow by not allowing taxes to go up and putting that money back into the economy, we'll be able to take another more stringent look at the spending bills of the future. But we have curbed the thirst for spending in a way that you've not seen up here in D.C. for a while.
Well, as you talk about the potential economic benefits of this legislation, Congressman, are they in no way, in your mind, offset by existing tariff policy or the risk of higher tariffs that still could come in the future?
Well, what we're seeing out of tariffs right now is budget surpluses. We're seeing income that has not been yet placed on the balance sheet of the United States. That is not fully baked in. I think what we're also going to see as President Trump continues to negotiate with these tariffs would be even a stronger economy with more investment here in the U.S. and more jobs.
That said, Congressman, the CBO says this bill will boost the incomes of the richest 10% of Americans while lowering the incomes of the lowest 10% of Americans. How does that resonate in your district?
Well, CBO has not had a very good record in being right. The reality is, right now, the tax rate for the highest earners in America is 37%. And when this bill comes into law, the highest tax rate will be 37%. The left is not bothering to tell you that. They're using the old-fashioned talking point that...
Is the CBO the left?
The CBO is just inefficient. I'm not going to say that they're partisan or not, but when you go back and look at their record, they do not have a history of being accurate. We believe that the economy is going to grow at a far quicker rate than what they've got baked in right now, just as it did under Trump 45 when the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was initially put into law.
Congressman, considering your district in North Carolina, I also want to ask you, as we approach the beginning of hurricane season here, knowing you've called for reforms to FEMA, about the warnings internally that FEMA has delivered about being unprepared for this hurricane season, in which there's now suggestions we could have up to 19 named storms. Are you concerned about the impact potentially on North Carolina, about a lack of preparedness as we enter these next months?
Well, I certainly believe that Western North Carolina has seen its worst hurricane in many, many decades. I'm more concerned about rebuilding from last year's hurricane. There's no question FEMA needs to be reformed. It failed North Carolina in so many different ways. I'm happy to have had the opportunity to suggest to the President some reforms that should be put into place now to help whoever the victims of the next storm might be.
A lot of people remember your response to Hurricane Helene and your attempt to debunk some of the myths that surrounded the response, going so far as having to write that Hurricane Helene was not geoengineered by the government to seize and access lithium deposits in Chimney Rock. This was back in October of 2024. Congressman, I'm glad that you brought this up. What else does Asheville and the Hill Towns need at this point to rebuild?
The biggest thing that we need right now is to continue to dismantle the bureaucracy in Washington, D.C. I'm really happy that President Trump has been to Western North Carolina on a couple of occasions. I'm excited that he assigned me to a special task force to offer recommendations on how to accelerate our recovery. But there's much, much more that we have to get out of the way in Washington, D.C. We have a substantial funding package that I authored back in December, and now there's hundreds of millions of dollars in the hands of federal agencies, but we're having a really tough time getting it into the hands of the people that need it most. That's the number one thing that we need in Western North Carolina right now.